Hello, everyone. My name is Suzana. I study social work in Zagreb, and my story will be about my hometown. So, my story will be about how change can come in terrifying circumstances, about which we never think about in our daily lives. We don't consider that change can come as a ray of light in horrible times we find ourselves in. This kind of change took away our houses, actually our homes in a full meaning of that word. It took away from us our personal belongings and something of great value to us. That great value may be some possession of ours or our memories or something that we kept in our homes. So, most of us lead everyday normal lives. We do things that we like, that make us happy. In general, something of great meaning to us. We also enjoy holidays like Christmas with family, and we are looking forward to that time of the year. But in my situation, none of us thought that our day to day life can be taken away from us in just about 20 seconds of a natural disaster, let alone like earthquakes, especially if you live in a part of a planet where that is not common at all. I could never imagine that the biggest change in my life and the life of my family would be overnight, so shocking and sudden and unbelievable to everyone in this country. I could never imagine, on the other hand, that the biggest challenge in my life, as far as I can remember, will be due to earthquakes. It was not just one earthquake, but almost 2,000 of earthquakes in the past 3 months. Nobody knows when will the earthquakes end, and we are still managing to live through that situation in the way that we know best. We have kind of adjusted to them, and we even guess how strong they are each time when they happen, and mostly we guess correctly. We have no other choice but to fight in this situation. But to start somewhere, I must say that the area of Croatia from which I stem has suffered greatly in Croatian civil war that has lasted for 5 years in the 90s, and my area was completely forgotten by the state for the last 30 years, leaving people in deep poverty, without jobs which were based on industry and working in state services in former state of Yugoslavia. Every kind of industrial work or any other work for that matter was destroyed for decades, and that part of the country was left with hard living conditions. On the morning of 28th of December 2020, we were hit by 3 strong earthquakes in just a few minutes apart. In that time, we weren't that worried. We just continued on. We were shaken a bit, but our daily life continued. On my house, on that day, there was no damage. But somehow, even after that, we were still lightly trembling, and I had a weird hunch that something is going to happen. I have prepared a backpack with important supplies, my cat's carrier, prepared warm clothes, and I thought I'm insane and that I should go to bed and sleep. But nobody expected that just 18 hours later, we will be living in a complete chaos. At 12:19 p.m. on 29th of December, my whole house was shaking, windows were trembling, followed with terribly loud noise, and people were yelling that we should go out in the street. Meanwhile, I was in my room jumping on my bed while I was looking how my cat jumped in the air looking for a place to hide, and how everything was falling down of my bookshelves, my wardrobes completely opened too. I couldn't move. I was terrified, and I just waited until it stopped. I grabbed my jacket and ran down to get out. We were all in a big and terrible shock, just looking at that immeasurable damage without electricity and water on one of the most beautiful days of the year in the most wonderful time of the year. On that same day, we were struck by 34 more earthquakes just in one day. Since it was heavy winter and very cold outside, the night ahead of us was the toughest night of my life because we were saving our possessions, making a bedroom and place to be from our kitchen and living room from that moment until now. For the next 30 days, I was sleeping on the floor on a mattress, lived without water, and I was unable to bathe, sometimes like a normal human beings. We were left without heating for a couple of days during very cold and unpleasant winter days. I was in constant work due to saving, cleaning, and repairing with my family what can be repaired on our damaged house and roof because our chimney fell off. And in all that utter chaos on day one, which I call day D, I was unable to answer to all my messages, calls received moments after the strongest earthquake, and at one point my phone blocked. So we were out of all information what was happening in the city and whole county and country. The country sent immediate help assembled of army, civil protection, Croatia Mountain Rescue Service. I was unable to tell each person what was going on and had to save phone battery. So I started writing on my Instagram stories to let everybody know that we are alive, unhurt, and what was going on and what supplies people need. On New Year's Eve, 2 days later, my friend and her brother unexpectedly came to our house with a car full of all kinds of supplies, and I didn't know that they were coming, but they said they knew they can count on me. At that point, they also left me a certain small amount of money for people in need. That same evening, through my friends, I have reached to people who needed supplies, and on the next day, it was sent to them. I gave away money to 3 families in one village about 10 kilometers away from Petrinja. After telling my friend to find me families in need. Most of the time, I just kept writing on my Instagram stories about supplies, what is happening to my family, me, and other people. Meanwhile, I was also helping 2 people from my neighborhood and took care of elderly neighbors who live alone, so they needed help. To one of my neighbors, I have found volunteers to cover their house after about 80% of their roof fell down. And my family and I were also sharing food with them. But my action started when my closest friends and colleagues from college started bringing food, bottled water, clothes, and then somehow other people knew that I was helping and collecting supplies and brought them to my house. I had my so-called warehouse in an empty room from which I had distributed supplies to people according to their needs. With the help of my friends from different parts of Croatia, my action was quite successful because they would get what was needed. My house was the meeting point from which we would go to visit people in villages around Petrinja, and my friends called it my logistics base, but their role was to find people who they know or on social networks, because at that time it was lots of Facebook or Instagram groups groups posting about people who need help. People in villages were in even harder conditions due to weather, traffic isolated areas, heavy terrain. And to those villages, help was coming very poorly, mostly by Army, Croatian Red Cross, Croatian Mountain Rescue Service, and us volunteers. Amongst all that, I was contacted by my faculty of law and their department of social work, student council of faculty of law, and student association on faculty of law, in which I am also volunteering. My purpose with them was to tell them, people in my area what are their legal and financial rights, and who can they turn to if they need psychological help. I was also engaged in activities of a civil organization called Little Prince, which was organizing help to children from children. And in the same kind of action was done by Zagreb Scouts. And with them, I was coordinating them about schools in other city, Sisak, which was also struck by many earthquakes. Funny story is that we've also organized a child's birthday party in the middle of the biggest crisis. And according to some of my accounts, during the first month of the catastrophe, my people and I have helped around 41 person. But I must say that I don't know how many to how many people went those supplies I sent on a New Year's Day. So probably I'm counting like 30 more people, so 70, according to my accounts. What also I did for myself was to have no free time. It helped me not to think about the next earthquake. During the nights, it was easier for me to be awake, and I used that time to study. And I think that's about most of that story. I tried to be as short as possible, but to tell all the important things. I must say that when I started this action with my friends through Instagram, I had absolutely no money. I only had my phone, internet, and Instagram. So in the end of my speech, I must say that this catastrophe that we are still living through taught me a lot. My change made others better in a really bad looking circumstances. What I did saved my mental health and made my family and friends very proud. So it showed me that nothing in life is permanent, and that situation and circumstances make fighters out of us. So thank you for listening, and that would be all.